Well, girls and guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've got the first project of 2024, a broom yellow Fiat Coupe 20 valve turbo. Now this car has not ran in about 3 years. It's got reversing sensors, look at that. Yeah, so this has not ran in 3 years, and now we're recommissioning it to get it back on road. So because it's been off road for so long, it is going to need quite a few things. The first things first is we need desperately, God, these bonnets are heavy, to replace the battery. The battery is absolutely cream crackered. The customer tried to charge it up for us, but it didn't last. It's already dead. So we've got an X-side battery en route for it. So we're going to be replacing that as job number one. Doesn't look like there's any coolant in there, so there could be a water leak, or who knows. That looks a little bit crusty in there. I mean, yeah, it's going to be quite a lot of fun. Don't actually know what the mileage is on the card. The mileage is 112,000 miles, but it is in quite a nice condition, if I'm honest. There's definitely been a battery issue because there's a spare one on the floor, but no, we're just going to put a new one in. But no, nice condition overall. Now there's quite a few little key areas of corrosion on these. That's nasty. They rust quite heavily in the rear boot, in the boot line, the seal of the boot on the side. And I was gonna say they rust where the Pininfarina badges are, but this doesn't have any. Hasn't got one on that side. Or that side, which makes me think it's probably had a rust repair there already. Anyway, that's just waffling for enjoyment. What we're going to do now is stick a battery in it and see what is going on. I think that's going to be the best point of call. Battery first, let's go. Alright, stuck a nice little X-side battery, just quick little 10, 8mm there and a 13mm for the bracket down there. Also notice that is split, so we're going to have to get another one of them. There is a good source of parts. There is Joe at FCSS in Herefordshire. I believe it's Herefordshire. That man, if he hasn't got the part for a Fiat Coupe, then it doesn't exist. So I'll be getting that's later in life. We don't need to worry about that now. Got it all done. We're going to see what this engine's doing and turn it around and see what we can see. So we've got ignition. Code light's gone out, which is good. Just going to cycle the ignition a couple more times. Make sure that immobiliser light goes off, so we know it's not an immobiliser issue. We are going to try and start. Injector light's gone out as well. Alright, we need to see if we've got fuel coming up. Because putting the ignition on these, you normally hear like a little coming from the rear, because the fuel tank is here. I can't hear a whine coming through for the fuel pump. So I'm going to purge the rail, if you can. I don't know if you can purge the rail on these. I'm going to check if we've got any fuel coming up. There is not a great deal of fuel in it, and if I'm honest, I don't even know how good that fuel is, but it's not even trying to fire. We're not even getting like a little ba-boom or nothing. So we're going to start with the obvious: air, fuel, spark. We know it's not a mobiliser. We'll start with the basics and then move forward. We do have the diagnostic cables for this, but might as well check the obvious stuff before we move on to stuff like that. As it's been a while since working on it, I was wrong. There isn't a purge on the line. Normally, at the end of a fuel line on modern vehicles, you've got like a little cap that you can remove. You've got like a valve, like a tyre valve inside, and you can put like a little pick inside it and purge the fuel line. You don't have that on this anymore, which is, well, you don't have it on these. What you do have is the fuel pump in the boot. Now, I've got a friend to cycle the ignition and I can't hear anything coming out of that fuel pump. No whining, no noise at all, which tells me that the fuel pump isn't getting any power. So in a few more minutes, we're gonna get some tools, start taking the cover off and physically check for power. I know I should be going for the fuses and stuff like that. I've checked the EFI fuse in the black box up there, that's fine. It could be a relay, could be a fuse, could be a pump, but I'll start from the back and work my way forward and we'll see how we get on. Hopefully, it's just a dead pump. We can remove the 3-year-old fuel inside the tank when we've got the pump out as well. Fill it up with some fresh fuel, get a decent working pump. This is fingers crossed, of course. And, well, well, kind of take it from there really. So that's where we're at the moment. And then obviously the customer is very much aware. It's been over 5 years since the belt was changed, 3 years since the car was started last. No antifreeze in there at all. So I'm assuming that we're going to be doing a cam belt on this at some point, but obviously I'll speak to the customer. It's his car, it's his money. We're going to work to his budget and work out accordingly. All right, so remove this and remove the 3-screw cover to get to the fuel pump. Now, you've got 2 plugs. The green one is for the level sensor, and the black one, that one there is the power going to the pump. I've got power on crank here. Everything should be right, but the pump isn't working. I've given it a couple of lefts and rights basically to try and bang it into life, and it is not coming into life. So the first thing I've got is no fuel pump. So we need to sort a fuel pump out for it first. And just for good measure, what I can see is I think they are rabbit dropping, mice dropping, or pellets or anything like that, and it looks like a very old tea bag. But I've got my earth from there just on the test light, because I've also realised this has had a should have had a pop-up aerial. Some do, some don't, and that goes in there. But yeah, so we've got to find a fuel pump. Well, spoke to the customer. He said, oh, I've got a spare car, I'll bring you another fuel pump. So this is the fuel pump that he's given me. So as you can see, this gives you a little bit more. The little one, that one there goes to the fuel sender, so the level tells you how much fuel you got. And then that one is the positive, negative going to the pump. Now, I don't hold much hope for this pump working. I really don't. But I'm going to plug it in and give it a little go. So I can't be in 2 places at once, so I'm just going to set that up there. So this pump is connected to the car's wiring. I'm going to go to the front and you'll see this pump prime. There we go. Well, let's be honest, I weren't expecting that to work, were you? So I'm gonna push the car in. First things first, I'm gonna clean this out because this has been sat for a while and there's a lot of sediment and junk in there. I'm gonna get some fresh fuel as well, take the sender unit out, replace the fuel and fit this pump. That miraculously works, even though it looks like it's come off the Titanic. Okay, so we've moved the Fiat coupe from outside to inside now, with the help of one of my friends, which was much use because this thing weighs like metric tons. So we're going to replace the fuel sender for the one that we've got that I showed in the last clip. What I've done is unplugged the level sensor and the actual pump itself, undone the wiring from here, whipped it out. Now you notice I've broken that. I've broken that for a reason, because of the other one I've cut the black plastic off, so I'm going to have to play around with the pipe on the car. Remove the feed and return, I think that's tank vent, I don't even know. Undone the lock ring, and because I don't have the tool, I've used a trusty flathead and a hammer. So now I'm going to take the fuel pump out, which I believe is now going to be a two-man job, well, a two-handed job, because it never works when you're doing it one-handed. There you go, got it out. Now I know the fuel is disgusting in this car, so we're gonna fill it up. Well, we're gonna check that the pump sends fuel to the car first before we go around messing around draining the tank and stuff like that. I should drain it from here, but because I forgot to go and get fresh petrol, I'm gonna just wing it and see if it runs. All right, so the old one's out and the fuel looks, well, it's nasty. It is very low in the car anyway. So this is the one that we cleaned up earlier. Yeah, cleaned up, not amazing, but it's enough to make it work. Definitely gonna need to change the fuel filter on this car after. I believe that arrow indicates that it needs to go like that in the car, if you know what I mean. But you'll see as we fit it. Okay, so we're all in. 1 second to tell my colleague to flick the ignition on. Hopefully you can hear that whine. One more time. So that tells us that this is working, everything's all good. Obviously, haven't routed the electrics through in the right place. Still got to connect this, which is tank breather. I somehow need to remove that and get it onto there. I'll worry about that in a few minutes, but the main thing is we have got the pump working and it's sending fuel up to the rail. So, I mean, should we start it? I mean, we should really try and start it, it's only fair. We have turned it over a few times just to make sure we've got oil, check the oil. Oil is up at the top, so it runs. So, obviously, we know it runs, but there is an alarming plasticky burning smell, and something tells me the alternator isn't turning. So, for test purposes, we're just gonna start it up. You can see the pulley there. Yeah, fire it up. Yeah, stop, off. The alternator pulley is not turning. So, we have a victory that the engine runs, and we have an instant failure because the alternator doesn't turn. I'm assuming our first job is going to be to put an alternator on this. Pulley has seized, but she runs, it doesn't knock, doesn't sound horrendous. I mean, we haven't ran it long enough, but I think we'd have heard it by now. So, I mean, small victory, I'd say. I'm probably going to cut the auxiliary belt off because with these cars, as we all know, if the auxiliary belt fails and rips up or whatever, it will wrap around the crank pulley, lock the engine, bend the valves, and then we've gone from a really high point of result, we've got this running, to just called a scrap man, really. But while it's here, we're going to get it in the air and have a little look. Okay, so we obviously know this car has sat for a while, but looking at it, I mean, you can still see like the caliper springs are kind of brassy, and the handbrake cables are new. And it's got new rear springs, new shocks, KYB springs, shocks on the back. So they're all good. Hold on. It's got two different calipers. That caliper is different to that caliper. Well, that's broken my concentration a little bit. So yeah, it's been undersealed. Looks like it's had new brake pipes, new handbrake cables. It's had new copper brake pipes made on this side as well. And if I'm honest, like, not too bad. It's obviously had some points like undersealed. That looks like a questionable area, but yeah, this side again looks all right. Nothing too bad. There's a heat shield that's just flapping, but at the moment that's the only thing that I can find that's not actually attached. And being a Fiat coupe, that's not bad. But when we move on to the front, oh, that track rod end is spangle ballet. That's going to need replacing. That boot is no more. But it's had new lower arms, new pinch bolts, new shocks, Monroe shocks, and KYB springs yet again. New track rod ends, going to need another one. And it's even got an under tray, which is amazing, because these don't really have under trays. But new copper brake pipes up the front as well. And it's had new pipes front to back. So at some point, this was really, really well loved. Like, I mean, really well loved. It's also like leak free. It's also got it's got an aluminium rad. Less chance of leakage on that. Not leaking anywhere. The rad support bars in good condition. Like, overall, it's a lot better than what I was expecting. Okay, cool. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to end this on this little bit of a bombshell, as the car underneath is decent, bar heat shield, which I'll sort out. So that concludes just getting it running, so we know that we actually have a car that works. The next stage will be a discussion with the customer and seeing where we want to take it, because we know that it needs an alternator and everything else. Stick around on the channel, like and subscribe to it, guys, and we'll see how Project 20 Valve Turbo goes. This should be quite a good one, because I think he's going to probably want cam belt, water pump, definitely an alternator and a new auxiliary belt. Stay tuned, see how we get on.